Harnessing the Power of Desktop Subscription. This webinar is brought to you by Live Lab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Core, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. This is Emily Barnes, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the question pane. We will be answering questions at the end of our presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to you online on our YouTube channel. We will also send you an email following the webinar with a link to the recording. If you haven't already, search Live Lab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our webpage, livelablearning.com, there's a complete schedule of upcoming training. Please take note of upcoming webinars. On Tuesday, January 12th, we have an exciting webinar on building information modeling for commercial interior designs. And then the next day, on January 13th, be sure to join us for our webinar on Vault. We've got several important dates coming up soon that you need to be aware of. January 31st will be the last opportunity to purchase new perpetual seats, cross-grades, or network deployments of the most Autodesk individual solutions, such as AutoCAD and Civil 3D. January 31st also marks the end of late subscription renewals. Only early or on-time subscription renewals will be processed after that date. July 31st will be the last opportunity to purchase new perpetual seats, cross-grades, or networks of most of our suite solutions, such as building design suites. Following the questions and answers at the end of the webinar, we will be giving away a $25 Visa gift card. You must be present to win this gift card. Our presenter today is Lansing Hugh, AIA, a registered architect for over 30 years. Lansing was one of the early adopters of AutoCAD and then Revit. He has been in the Autodesk channel for many years, where he earned a reputation of looking out for the best interests of users and pioneering the position of subscription client advocate. His current job at Applied builds on the deep experience, and he's now charged with improving the success of our clients and adapting the innovative solutions we provide. All right, and we will now be beginning. Lansing, let's take a moment. Let's see.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to take a few minutes of your time just to bring you up to date on the changes Autodesk is making and how they'll affect you. We'll cover specifically what is changing and discuss ways you can assess what actions to take now while you can. One way to understand the changes Autodesk is making is to look back at the way they've licensed their software and upgrades over the years. Way back in 1983, when I bought my first copy of AutoCAD, they'd sell you a box at a fairly high price and then offer upgrades for a modest price. Some people would eagerly await the upgrades, while others felt they were better off getting every other one or every third one. As a result, we have a wide spread of versions in use, which is a real headache for interoperability and new technology adoption. Starting in 2000, Autodesk began pre-selling upgrades under the name of subscription. Subscription was optional until recently and competed with the older upgrade process. Then last year, Autodesk renamed what we had called subscription to maintenance subscription, and their new rental licenses as desktop subscription. As I hope you've been told multiple times, Autodesk is phasing out selling new seats of perpetual licenses. First, they'll stop selling perpetual licenses of most individual products like AutoCAD and Civil 3D after January 31st. And then they'll stop selling perpetual licenses of the design suites after July 31st. The result is that starting August 1st, all new licenses will be sold on a term basis. This does not affect your current perpetual licenses, which you'll continue to be able to upgrade. Let's first take a look at what's different when we subscribe to a product from what we've had in the past with perpetual products on a maintenance plan. The real draw for term licensing is the low startup cost. Autodesk basically takes what is currently the price of a new perpetual license with maintenance and spreads it out over 3 or 4 years. If you are in a startup firm or need to respond quickly to a newly won project, this can make a huge difference not only in which technology you can choose, but whether or not you can even start the business or staff the project. It also gives Autodesk a mechanism to introduce new technology at a very low price and gradually adjust the price as the market matures and finds its place in the market. In the past, when you had a maintenance contract and money got tight, you could choose to defer renewing your maintenance contract and still keep using the most recent version. By contrast, if you're using a term license, it stops running when the term expiration date comes up. Another big change Autodesk makes when you subscribe to a product is the way it meters usage. Instead of focusing on seats, the new software license agreements mandates designating a real person as a named user. The agreement specifically disallows generic users like CAD user 1. In a perpetual maintenance plan, the license agreements talks about the user being permitted to only install on a single computer. Then as an extension of that plan, you're also permitted to install an additional copy on a second computer away from the usual workplace. Although called home use provision, it also applies to installing that second copy on a laptop instead of a home computer. By contrast, when you subscribe to an Autodesk product for a term, the license is much more permissive. You're free to install the software on any number of computers, but the named user can only operate one at a time. The term agreement is also more permissive about the use of the license when traveling overseas. You should talk to your company's financial advisors about the difference between perpetual licenses and term licenses. It's my understanding that the IRS might treat a term license as an expense, while the perpetual license would be a capital expenditure that would be expensed over several years. Well before the term on your Autodesk product comes up, you'll want to plan the next steps because you'll have choices we wouldn't have had after making a big investment in perpetual licenses. You'll want to review if you need to change the number of named users. Are you using the right technology? A term license gives you the flexibility to mix in new solutions. Like maybe it's time to come up with some implementation of a great new tool like InfraWorks. When subscribing to Autodesk products for a term, there's really no penalty in letting an agreement lapse and then starting up again in a year. The only wasted time is the time between the last use and the end of the contract. There's no provision for returning unused time on a contract, so if your usage demand fluctuates widely, you might want to stay away from subscribing for longer terms. As much as we appreciate the benefits of the new term licenses, we need to cover what we prefer with perpetual licenses and maintenance agreements. For instance, most firms using Autodesk software with over, let's say, 15 seats elect to make some of their licenses network or floating seats. For example, a firm of 30 engineers might elect to have only 20 network seats because they will always have a portion of their staff busy on non-CAD work or out on vacation. As of today, Autodesk is not selling network licenses on a term basis. We expect to get the details on the new multi-user term agreements soon, so stay tuned. Also, you may prefer to have at least some software that will continue to run without an active maintenance agreement, particularly in cases where your firm may have a legal responsibility to archive and potentially continue work on older projects. With perpetual licenses, your software continues to work regardless of your business relationship with Autodesk. Lastly, our calculations show that at current pricing, maintenance agreements are less expensive than term licenses when you look over a longer term. Okay, so now we've covered some of the pros and cons of subscribing to Autodesk products for a term. Let's talk now about what actions you might consider going forward. First and foremost, I suggest you come up with a few scenarios for the future. Among the factors you might want to project would be how many users you would probably need each year for some period of time, how far out it might be before the next recession or boom might come along, and how your core team would shrink or grow to deal with that. This is a sample spreadsheet of needs and costs that I made up. It's completely fictional, that looks at two scenarios at the same time. They both start with a firm with 0 existing licenses and project a roller coaster ride with the number of seats needed swinging up as high as 10 and as low as 4 seats. In the top scenario, 5 perpetual seats are acquired before they become unavailable in August next year. The balance of the required seats are filled with term licenses. In the bottom scenario, no perpetual licenses are purchased, and it's just term licenses that are acquired and dumped as needed. In this particular case, it looks like the purely term license route is clearly more expensive. If this type of situation reflects your business, now would be the time to consider adding at least some perpetual licenses while they're still available. Autodesk has made the role of the people in your office who manage your contract, your subscription contract, more important than ever. Remember, with term licenses, if the renewal isn't done on time, the software stops working. It's important to understand the difference between the roles of the contract manager and the software coordinator. In a smaller firm, both roles tend to be filled by the same person, but in many cases, it makes more sense to divide up the responsibilities. The contract manager is the main point of contact for Autodesk and will be the one renewal notifications will go to. Often, the contract manager is in purchasing. The software coordinator is usually the person who knows the users and what tools they need to do their jobs. If you have a CAD manager or a BIM manager, they might be a good choice for the software coordinator role. Note you can have different software coordinators, one for each different serial number on your contract. Have your contract manager and software coordinator meet with each other and with the users to identify roles and determine who needs access to what products, services, and benefits. Gather all user information, including names, existing Autodesk IDs, and associated email addresses, so it's documented and available when you need it for subscription user setup and beyond. Contract managers and software coordinators should always be sure that their own Autodesk account profile, contact information, and email addresses are up to date, as they always receive notifications, confirmations, and critical product information that way. Renew your subscription at least a week before the expiration date to avoid losing access to your software. Term licenses will cease to run after the expiration date is passed. Also, really be aware that if you miss the renewal on a maintenance agreement for a perpetual license, Autodesk after January 31st will not allow you to do a late renewal. Your perpetual software will continue to run, but the only way you'll have to get new versions of the product will be to start all over and subscribe to the product. Know your Autodesk account. If you're the contract manager or the software coordinator, explore the admin areas at Autodesk, account.autodesk.com so you can find out what you need quickly when you really need it. Get to know the key areas that pertain to user roles, user access, support, and contract details. The management screens offer many nested details and cross-referenced information. Take full advantage of the integrated support for self-help and self-paced learning opportunities through the Autodesk Knowledge Network. Autodesk has a new 78-page ebook for management of desktop subscriptions. You can search the Autodesk.com site for Desktop Subscription Software Administration Guide to download this very useful resource, or just contact me and I'll gladly email it to you. My email address is lpugh@asti.com. We'll show that again at the end. Let's sum up what we've covered today. Autodesk is transforming from perpetual to term licenses for new product sales. You can now optimize your business advantage by having a mix of both kinds of licenses. The best way for you to take advantage of these changes is to actively manage your contracts so that the right users can access the right technologies. And remember, renew early to avoid losing rights and productivity. Have any questions come up that we can answer? Yes, we are recording this and it'll be available on our YouTube live learning channel. If there aren't any other questions, I'd like to thank you for your day. Emily, you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. That was great. So we will be giving out our gift card giveaway. Let's choose a attendee from our list at random. Let's see. Do we have Kent McClure available? If you are, please type in on the side that you are still present in the chat box. Let's see.
He typed in, I am present.
All right, perfect. I couldn't see that. All right, well, we will be contacting you after this is complete. Also visit our YouTube channel to search Live Lab Learning and for a recording of this, as well as we will be sending it out to you. Thank you very much for attending. We hope you found this webinar informative and helped your business. We look forward to you attending our future webinars. All right,
Thanks a lot,
thank
everybody.
you.